Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you today. Hey, thanks for stopping by and being a part of episode 19 of the Kelly Renee Life Coach channel. It's really good to see you today. Thanksgiving's tomorrow. And I don't know when you're going to watch this, but I know that the holidays can be a really difficult time for many of us. I have friends who have lost relationship with their families. I have friends who lost relationship with those people that they thought they could count on. And so being part of the LGBTQ community and the intersection of the holidays in this time can be really painful. That sense of loss, the sense of missing out can really be tough. I get that. I understand how that feels. I understand the experience. And I want to encourage you. And so today I thought we'd spend some time just talking about the resource that I created called Flourishing Through the Holidays. I did this with you in mind because I know sometimes it's hard. And the first step in understanding how we can flourish through the holidays is really sitting with the loss that we have, with that sense of abandonment, pain. I got it. So if I can figure out how to do this, I'm going to see if we can share this resource. And if you give me just a second, let's see if I can start a share. There we go. And share. Perfect. All right. I've made this resource available for free from my website at kellyreneelifecoach.com. And I'll put a link in the show notes for you. But again, when I created this resource, it was with you in mind, because I know that the holidays can be a really difficult time. One of the challenges that so many of us face, and whether you're part of the LGBTQ community or not, we start to feel pain or disruption in any part of our lives. And it's really easy to try to find a way to push that pain down and to not acknowledge it. And so what do we typically do? Well, we can veg out and watch Netflix. Or we can grab comfort food and eat. And comfort food's good, I love it. Or we can drink too much. Or we can do drugs. Or we can act out in ways that help to hide that sense of loss that we're feeling. And while I get that sometimes we do those things and it makes us feel comfortable and helps us to deal, really what we're doing is just masking what's really going on. And so one of the first things in Flourishing Through the Holidays, and actually the first step, and let me get to it here, is recognizing and acknowledging your feelings. The idea of fake it till you make it has got to be the worst advice to follow when it comes to dealing with our feelings. And I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in a house where we didn't acknowledge our feelings, let alone understand how to deal with them. And I did that for many years. I pushed those feelings down. And I invested myself in other things that would take my mind off of what was really going on in my heart. And so, in the spirit of acknowledgement, the first thing we really have to do is focus on and recognize and accept how we're feeling. This is a time for self-care. So, it's really important that we're kind to ourselves throughout this process. And so, I encourage you to take some time and reflect on your emotions and where they might be coming from. Reflecting back and help you uncover what you're feeling and why you're feeling the way you do. And as scary as it is, don't be afraid to dig deep. Now, I recommend through this that you journal any of these questions, and you can think about them, and that's fine. For me, writing them out is really helpful. And so in this resource, I've created space for you if you wanted to print this out and share it, or print it out and use it yourself, or just grab a piece of paper. For me, writing this stuff out and actually looking at it and reviewing it really helps me a lot. And so whatever works for you, I want to encourage you to use it in that way. But the first question here is, what's triggering your difficult feelings? What's the root of the sadness and the pain you're feeling? Now, if you have a spouse or a child, a parent, a friend, coworkers maybe, who don't want to accept who you are and don't understand how you got to the place that you did, it's hard, it's painful. And if that's the root of the sadness that you're feeling, then jot that down. It's super important for you to understand where it's coming from. The other thing that's important is to recognize where it shows up in your body. And that's super, super important as well. Again, so many times we try to push that stuff away. We don't want to deal with it. It hurts. It's painful. If you shed tears in that emotion, it's okay. It's okay. The next question is, who do you wish was with you today? And what about their presence made the holidays special? Again, so many times we grow up in environments where the love of a parent or a child is really one of the most validating things that we have. When the holidays come, I always think about my mom. She's been gone for a number of years now. But I love the energy and the passion that she put into taking care of the family. She absolutely loved baking and was really good at it. And the turkey and the dressing and the squash and the pumpkin pies and all the stuff that went along with it was always such a treat. The aromas would just flow through the rooms, every room in the house. And when I think about family and I think about the get-togethers we used to have, particularly as a young child, those are the things that come back to me the most. I wish my mom was with me today. Her presence, her love, and her skill at baking just, oh my goodness, it brings back such good memories. The next question is, what's the last good holiday season you had and what made it so wonderful? I remember the last really good holiday season I had was when I was with my kids and we were all together, and my grandkids, and watching them open presents and toys and just being there, being with them was absolutely amazing. Now, that's not to say that the holidays that Patty and I share together aren't good, but for me at least, having everyone together in one place, being able to share, that makes for a really good holiday. What about you? When was your last good holiday season? What made it wonderful? What made it so meaningful to you? The next question here is, who can you share your feelings with? Who can you lean on during a tough time? You know, we're all built for community. That is so important. Sometimes as folks in the LGBTQ community, we lose connection with people who used to matter to us a lot. And that sense of loss can keep us locked into a space of solitude and desperation and inaction. Sometimes downright shame. The best way to bring light and to bring hope and to bring healing is to share how you feel. So that may require you to find someone that you can trust with your feelings. And that is important. So who can you lean on? Who can you reach out to and share with? I mentioned it before, but how do these emotions show up in your body? Recognizing, for example, how sadness shows up, how it feels inside of you, opens you up to an opportunity to not only recognize it, but allow it to flow through you and then provide you the space to move on. It's hard. One of the things that makes it really difficult is when we try to suppress it or mask it. And so we drink too much, or we eat too much, or we exercise too much, or we watch too much Netflix, or who knows what else. You pick the poison. The point is that when we immerse ourselves in those things, then it doesn't give us the freedom to deal with the pain that we're actually going through. It is painful. My hope for you is that you'll figure out a way to feel that pain, to allow it to flow through you, and for you to move on to something better. And there's no right or wrong way to allow our feelings to move through us. Simply asking ourselves questions and letting the answers bring up whatever emotions they bring up is more than enough. So have some self-compassion. Take care of yourself. If you're feeling unworthy of your own support, remember that you are worthy. If you're feeling guilty for being sad during this time, recognize that grief is a natural process and one that deserves space to be honored. Step 2 is shift your perspective. You know, we've talked about some of the reasons why you might be feeling the way you do. It's time to have a new perspective. Shift it a little bit. This is a wonderful time of year. And if the fog has veiled the beauty from your eyes, you have every right to want to lift it. Just as every human being who ever stepped foot on this planet has gone through loss, we all have the capacity to experience the good in life also. Rather than using the holidays as a time to reflect on what you don't have, it can be truly wonderful for you to use this season as an opportunity to take inventory of what you do have. Whether it's a supportive loved one, a holiday themed coffee that was just released. And y'all know me, I love Starbucks. And they have this incredible sugar cookie almond milk latte. Oh my goodness, it has been amazing. But look, here's the thing, you're alive, you're breathing, And that's reason enough to be grateful. Gratitude can help us shift our perspective in an instant. And when we shift our perspective, we immediately change how we look at life. And the more grateful we are about our past, our present, the more hope and optimism we can have for the future. So here's some things for you to ponder, to journal about, or think about. What are some of the things that make you happy during this season? What can you look forward to? What are 3 things right now that you can be grateful for? And what do you love about them? And what do you hope to see when you look at your life? When we dwell on the things that are bad in our lives, it's easy for our brain to think of things that help us validate that thought process. When we start to think of things that are good in our lives, our brain is such an incredible resource that it helps us to validate that and starts to look for the evidence of those things that are good in our life. By shifting our perspective, we allow ourselves the possibility of joy to flood in and move through us. That's the beauty of self-care. It opens our eyes to see all that's right in the world. It gives us a chance to create space for gratitude to take root. Step 3 is start a gratitude practice. The power of gratitude is something that's often underestimated. When gratitude becomes a daily practice, it can make an impact on your overall well-being, not only for today, but for years to come. Like anything, the more you practice it, the more it becomes a part of your natural state. And it's not about perfection. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes you permanently better. Implementing a gratitude practice is the best gift you can give yourself this holiday season. And there are countless ways to do it. Here's a few ideas. Keep a gratitude journal. Write down 3 things you're grateful for every morning before you get out of bed. Or if you're like me, at least while you're having coffee. I don't do anything without coffee first. Write a letter of someone, a letter of gratitude to someone who has positively influenced your life, and place it in a special jar or container. And then on New Year's Day, open the jar, release all those good feelings to the universe. And you might even want to mail it to that person to let them know how grateful you are for the impact they've had in your life. Set up a daily gratitude reminder on your phone to pop up randomly throughout the day. This will allow you to shift your attention from what's weighing you down to what's lifting you up. Jump on a special social media hashtag and post what you're grateful for at least once a day to get the ball rolling. Use hashtags like hashtag thankful, hashtag grateful, or hashtag blessed. Acknowledge all the good things that are happening to you during the day before you go to sleep. And some might even want to keep an appreciation note on your phone and document all the good things that are happening, no matter how small. Because you see, the possibilities are endless. But what's important is that you begin to establish a practice so that gratitude becomes your go-to coping skill during tough times, holidays or not. No matter how or when you do it, practice gratitude to awaken inner light and give you a chance to see all that's truly beautiful about this world. Step 4 is to allow the new and the good to come in. When we're negative and pessimistic about the holidays, we block ourselves from new opportunities. We keep our heads down and refuse to look up. at what's possible. And that's such a shame because the reality is that new and good things can happen at any moment if we choose to see them. When we're hungry for newness and goodness, we naturally open up to the opportunities. Our eyes light up and we become more curious about the world around us. And when we're curious, our minds begin to open up and new ideas start coming in. Our brains become more active and creative thinking flourishes. That's why actively choosing to look for the good in things, even during tough times, is so important. It keeps hope alive. It sends a message that there's something worth celebrating. It reminds us to keep our eyes open for new potential, not just during the holidays, but every day of the year. Begin to approach the world with a hands open mentality. That means you are open to both giving and receiving good. If our fists are closed, we can't give out any good energy. We also can't receive any good energy. So we have to open our hands and open our hearts to those experiences that are just waiting for us. Some thoughts for you to journal. How can you be more generous? Not just with your cash, that's important too, but how about with your spirit? What encouragement can you provide someone today? It's funny, when we take the time to encourage somebody, it comes back and encourages us as well, or at least that's my experience. What are some paths you can take to have a positive impact on someone else's life today? How can you continue to add value to the lives of others? And what can you do right now that'll make this holiday season even better than it already is shaping up to be? There's a lot of opportunities for us if we care to open our hearts and minds to them. Step 5 is build new relationships. Again, and I say this often, we're meant to be a community. We're meant to be in relationship. And that glaring truth is so ever true, particularly during the holidays. If you've lost someone, if you've lost a relationship, you feel disconnected, the holidays can be a really lonely time of year. That's why it's so important to build new relationships. Whether you're at home or away, there are countless ways you can embrace community and friendship this season. You could join a local holiday event or charity fundraiser in your area. You can volunteer to help out with a neighborhood event. Or maybe not just with an event. There are tons of nonprofits clamoring for people to support them. They need volunteers to exist. Find a nonprofit that speaks to your heart. How about a homeless shelter? There are tons of opportunities to work with the homeless in your area. If you don't like people so much, how about pets? How about volunteering at a shelter and helping out, fostering a pet? Host an impromptu get together and invite neighbors over for coffee or hot chocolate. And that may not feel practical for you, depending on where you are in your transition or in the outing process. But how about just meeting a friend at Starbucks for coffee? How about committing to reach out to at least one person today, even if it's just an IM or a messenger or text saying hi? Reconnect with friends and family members on social media. Create new friends on social media. Many of us find ourselves in groups and in spaces where we can create new relationships. And we don't have to have an agenda. We don't have to try to sell anything. We can create new relationships just with the intent of creating a relationship. I know it can be hard. I know that you can feel alone and disconnected and not want to engage in the holiday spirit. I get that. But just remember, it's always possible to build new relationships and find support, even in those times when when you feel like you don't have anything to give. You just need to be intentional about building those relationships with people who hopefully will light you up and make your life fuller. Remember, relationships grow when we nourish them, and the holidays are a prime time for creating and maintaining strong bonds. I really hope you'll make your peace with the holidays. It doesn't have to be just a time of pain. With some simple shifts in perspective and consciousness, it can be a time of healing and restoration for you. And as we journey through this holiday season together, I hope you'll join me in setting intentions for joy and gratitude, and most importantly, realizing that it's always possible to build new relationships with the people around you. I love you all. I send you my best. If you would like a copy of this resource that you can print and share, I'll put a link in the show notes. It's available on my website at kellyrenee.lifecoach.com. And I just wish you the best. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I love you all. Thank you all so much.